Is it okay if I fire you? Obligatory long-time reader, first-time poster, on mobile yada yada. This is a story of MC that a previous boss had done, but involved me directly as will be explained. Time frame is early 2000s for reference. In my late high school, early college years, I had a job doing telemarketing work during winter and summer breaks. While it was boiler room cold calling, we primarily were soliciting donations for agencies that had contracted us to do the work, so felt less scuzzy. Think police departments, fire departments, etc. We kept a portion of donations for operating expenses. Everything over a certain threshold went directly to the receiving party. Everybody wins. I enjoyed the job as the scripts were simple. I was allowed to read a book and such between calls, and a number of my friends were also employed there so we could hang out during lunch breaks. The pay was a decent chunk above minimum wage at that time, so it was a good gig. I also had a knack for it, and at one point was fifth in sales across all their sites they had in operation, second in our building. One summer, while driving to work, my car promptly dies with no warning, and I'm left stranded on the road. As you do in this situation back before cell phones for poor college students were a thing, I walk to the nearest house and ask to use the phone. I call my dad, who starts driving to get me, and call my work to let them know I'll be late. My boss says fine, and that he will chat with me when I get in. Father shows up with my mother in 2 cars. I take the extra, and he begins the arduous process of towing my car back to the house. This involved tying a rope to the front of the car and to the back of his vehicle, and crawling back home so he could fix it himself. I've been in that back car, and did not envy my father being in the back car with only 10 feet of space between him and the car my mother was driving. But I'm off to work. I arrive to work, clock in almost an hour after the start of my shift, and am promptly told by the front receptionist that my boss would like to see me in his office. So I head on back. Beginning details completed. Cue the start of the MC story. My boss and I have always had a good rapport. I'm a good worker, get good reviews, and he and I have some similar interests outside of work we can chat about occasionally. When I arrive in his office, he's shuffling some papers around and has laid out a few documents facing me. As close as I can recall, this is the conversation that followed. Boss, hope everything worked out with the car. Glad to have you here. Couple things I need to discuss with you. First of all, as I'm sure you are aware, being more than 30 minutes late to work is considered a Class C violation. 3 classes, from C to AC, being the least egregious, if insufficient time is given prior to the occurrence. This is your first violation, so I'd like to talk to you about what happens next. I'm sweating at this point. I've never even been talked to about being out of order on anything while working here, and getting my first violation scared the heck out of me. So I'm sitting there, white-faced, and he continues. Boss, no official write-up or anything occurs for a first violation, or even the first few Class C violations, but it is manager's discretion on the punishment depending on past behaviors. Now you're a good employee, and I've put into corporate a few times to give you a raise, but because you only work during your school breaks, it is denied as you aren't considered full-time. So the papers I have here are your termination papers, and an offer letter I'd like to extend to you to hire you back on again. So, in short, before I file these, I'd like to ask, is it okay if I fire you? So we go through the process of him firing me, which then allowed him to extend an offer to me to rehire me at roughly a 25% increase in pay, since he could justify to corporate the bump as he was hiring someone with experience. In talking with him, he let me know it was something he occasionally did to the high school and college workers to get around the corporate's policy of not allowing raises to people that didn't work 1,000 plus hours in a year. It was his own way of being maliciously compliant with a policy that didn't allow him to reward some people that he thought deserved it. He had been apparently waiting for me to do something that he could technically fire me for. The way their back-end systems worked, it wouldn't even show up as a break in service. Since the firing and hiring happened on the same day, and since I never worked more than the minimum 1,000 hours each year, I didn't have any tenure or anything to be worried about losing. The laugh he and the receptionist had when he walked me back to the front to introduce her to the new employee was enjoyable, and I've had a fun story to tell ever since. Story 2. I can't order a drink you're advertising and have open ingredients for. Fine! I'm in the UK and was with friends at one of the main coffee shop brands. I won't say which one, but it's similar to Costa-Lot. It was a few days after Christmas last year, important for later. When I was served by the barista, It was obvious I was going to have an experience. This guy acted haughtily and spoke to people with a sneer, and came across like he considered himself a prince amongst men. He had a long, floppy fringe that he kept brushing out of his contempt-filled eyes every few seconds. He clearly didn't want to be there or deal with the likes of me. Awkward for both of us. It was a two-man team, so a barista would take the order and make the drink. So he had to make whatever anyone ordered. It was very early January, and the shop still has advertisements up for Christmas seasonal drinks. I'm a fan of uncommon flavored coffee or hot chocolate, and said shop was advertising a Black Forest hot chocolate. Black Forest is basically dark chocolate, black cherry, and cream. I ordered one, and the barista looked me up and down and sneered, "That's a Christmas drink." Me, "Yes, barista. It's after Christmas." Me, "Yes, barista," smirking. "So I can't make you a Christmas drink." Me, "But you're advertising it, and you've still got the ingredients open behind the counter. This drink is basically a shot of the flavored sauce, hot chocolate, and cream on top. It's not that onerous or taxing to make compared to a normal hot chocolate. It's literally a normal hot chocolate with a flavor syrup put in." Barista, sighing and rolling his eyes, "It's not available right now." I wondered if he was being a tool for some unknown superiority complex, was being lazy and didn't want to make this beverage, or if there really was some directive. So I threw up a weather balloon question me. "Okay, fine. In that case, would I be able to buy a single shot of a flavored syrup, please? It says they are 35p on the board." Barista, dismissively, "I don't see why not." Me, "Can I order a shot of the black cherry syrup there, but in a medium-sized takeaway cup?" Barista tuts and silently turns, gets a shot of said syrup in a cup for me, and contemptuously places it in front of me. "Anything else?" he sneers. Cue my malicious compliance. I slide cup back to him and say, "Can you make a medium hot chocolate in this cup for me, please? And stir it well before you put the whipped cream on top." Barista grimaces and realizes that I've followed his instructions completely and still got myself a Black Forest hot chocolate. I stand and watch him make it, which he does with the most reluctant and bitter energy imaginable. For the record, it was pretty good. Story 3. Put me on production, destroy a work culture, and watch me chill on a couch doing nothing, and you can't do anything about it. I worked graveyards in a large furniture warehouse, preparing furniture for the driver's next day deliveries. Each prepper was responsible for prepping 2 bays for delivery. To prep the furniture, we would unbox all furniture, put feet on couches, hardware on dressers, build dining room chairs, and make repairs. The culture was to prep your bay, and when you finished, you helped the next bay and snowballed until everyone was finished, and then you would hop on a cherry picker to get last-minute additions or replace damaged furniture. This place decided to implement a production standard. You were given an allotted amount for each action down to the nut and bolt. If you added up your allotted time and you finished early, you got a 10-cent an hour bonus equaling 80 cents a day. Also, this was to prevent you from helping other bays as you weren't allotted time for others' work. Malicious compliance? I was efficient and didn't waste any movements. I would blast through my bay, add up all the allotted time, and saw that I finished 2 hours earlier than I was allotted. Rather than turn in my sheet and get 80 cents extra for the day, I sat on a comfy couch at the end of my bay and did nothing until my allotted time was up. I remember when the manager drove by and said, "We need you to go help and get damages." I just looked at my watch, then at my beautifully prepped bay and said, "I'm still prepping my bay." Put my headphones in and leaned back while he looked completely shocked. There was nothing they could do as I was still on the clock for my bay. I saw it more beneficial to get paid for 2 hours of doing nothing than 80 cents to work my ass off.